No, thanks a lot, Amataya, and it's good to be here. My head is swelling already with that introduction. Thank you very much. Let me just share my screen right away, and I will just get right into the presentation. And again, I want to thank the LCA for organizing, just convening this event today, as well as just want to thank KSI as well. It's good to be back. And just like Agbenga and Omatayo said earlier, we had the maiden edition last year, and I was really happy to see people coming back and just these great success stories that we heard. And so my goal, and I think for everybody here today, that the desire is that everybody would, those that are attending to these sessions today would come back with success stories, and we're really looking forward to that. With all that being said, I think it's also important to just let you know that my name is Aanuoluwapo Afolabi, but you can just call me Anu. And what I'm going to be doing today is essentially talk you through how to identify the right scholarship for you. But before I do that, I just want to talk just for like about 2 minutes or so about Fraser Foundation, which I'm a co-founder as well as serving as the executive director right now. And for us at Fraser Foundation, our goal essentially is just to accelerate equal access to quality education in low-income communities around the world. And even though it's Nigerian registered, we're not just focused on Nigeria or Africa. We think that whether you go to Vietnam or Cambodia or any country, there are low-income communities. And how do we support those communities to be able to gain equal access to quality education? And for us to achieve that goal, we do that using 2 main programs right now. One is Scholarship Lab, and the second one is Stretch Academy. And I'm not going to go into detail. You can, our website, link is there for you to check it out. But the only program I would just emphasize is the Scholarship Lab, and we partner with LCA as well. When we're making applications when we open the application for Scholarship Lab, which is a free 10-week mentoring program for those that we select. Because the reality is, when you're working through scholarship application, you need someone to help you look through your CV, your personal statement, just guide you through that process. And that is what we offer for those that we do select to work with. So I believe the application should be out very soon. Be on the lookout, follow us on our social media handles to know when the application is out for that. So with all that being said, let me get, what you've been waiting for, which is, what this session is all about. And I believe I have just about 18 more minutes to go, so I will make it very, very short and sweet as much as I can. And I have 2 objectives today during this session, which is my session is mainly presentation based, which is to give you a bird's eye view of the vast global opportunities that are out there for you. And, I'm going to make this point later as well, that by our count at Fraser Foundation, we think, from our calculation, there are over 5,000 scholarships out there. And out of that 5,000, you're looking at 2,000, more than 2,000 that are actually fully funded. So what I like to tell people that I work with is there is a scholarship for everybody. It's a matter of identifying that scholarship and strategizing well to be able to win that scholarship for yourself. Then the second point that I hope I can get across today is, what should you be considering when you're selecting the scholarship to apply for? If I can cover these 2 points very well, hopefully, I think I would consider that to be a good session. And to achieve those 2 goals, what I just want to do is to go through 3 main things. The first one is, how do you go about identifying the right scholarships for yourself? And the second thing is, I just want to go a bit abstract to classify the types of scholarships and what are the pros and cons to each of those scholarships. I think that if you understand that, you'll be able to create a plan for yourself regarding which scholarship should you target, depending on your grade, depending on your background, and what have you. And the last one is, I don't want to finish this session without giving you specific opportunities that are open right now that you can start submitting your applications for. All right, so let's get right into it. And if you notice, I'm using the iceberg here as my theme for this presentation. And the reason why I really love this theme is that when you go on LinkedIn or you go on Facebook, you see people saying, oh, I got this scholarship, I got that, which is great. I mean, we should celebrate success. But underneath that success, is a lot of hard work. And I hope that all the things that we walk you through today would really help you, will give you a foot on how to really do the hard work that is necessary to get that scholarship that I believe you are qualified enough to get. So again, like I said earlier, there are more than 5,000 scholarships out there that you can access for yourself. And the question then is, what should you be considering when you're thinking about the scholarship to get? And I'm just going to focus on 3 points here. The first one is, it's important to ask yourself why. And the reason why, growing up in Nigeria, one of the points that my parents used to tell us is that if you are not, in the people that end up becoming successful, the most are those that are actually self-aware. Are those that are self-aware. And for you to be self-aware, it's really understanding why you're applying for this scholarship. But moving away from a personal standpoint, the reality is, if you don't understand why you accept, applying for this particular scholarship, it's going to reflect in your personal statement. It's going to reflect in your CV, in all the application, all the documents you have to submit for your application. And so that's why it's important to ask yourself, why am I applying for this scholarship? And I will just give an example to really buttress this point. So, if you're someone that you want to go abroad and study on scholarship, but you really want to come back to Nigeria after your graduation, then you can consider applying for scholarships like Chevening scholarship or maybe Australian government scholarship. But if you're someone that once you finish your studies, you desire to have some work experience outside Nigeria, outside your own country, before you come back to your home country, then you cannot be applying for scholarships that I just mentioned, because part of the criteria, if you're being selected, is after you have to come back to your home country. So these are things that you will understand as you do your research. And after this conference, after this, the summit today, I believe the emails are going to be sent to all the participants. And one thing I'm going to share with all those that are here today is like a research template that you can use to really delve deep and really understand some of the key things that you should know before you start, submitting your application. And the other second point I will make as to why it's important to ask yourself why and really understand the scholarship is, when you on the journey of writing a personal statement or writing, a CV or writing a study plan or statement of purpose, you cannot just sit down one day and say you want to start writing. It's a process. And if you don't understand why you're applying for this, how is that particular scholarship going to support whatever it is that you want to achieve, whether it's in your academics or in your career, then it's just going to be hard to write all these essays that is going to require so much effort from you. So again, the point I'm making here is, it's extremely important for you to understand why you're applying for a particular scholarship and really delve deep, both from a personal standpoint as well as looking at it from the perspective of that particular, scholarship board. And that point, I'm just going to give one last example before I move to the second point. Which is, there are some scholarships that an example that I like giving is Global Career Scholarship. One of the goals of Global Career Scholarship is they want to promote the image of South Korean universities around the world. So if you're applying for this scholarship and you don't understand the aims and the purpose of this scholarship, and you don't highlight that in your personal statement, while you may get a scholarship, but you put yourself at an advantage if you actually understand what you're looking for. And you must be including lines like how your program is going to foster the relationship between South Korea and Nigeria or the country you're from. Just being able to highlight those points that really that tailors towards what they want to see and what they want to hear when you're making your application. Now, the second point I will make that you should consider when you're searching for scholarship is, how much are you seeking to raise? Now, for someone like me coming from a developing country, my straight answer to this is, I want a fully funded scholarship. I don't have the money to say I want the 50% or maybe 20%. But I kid in, there are people that actually don't want a fully funded scholarship. So if you don't want a fully funded scholarship, then there's no point in searching for that. You can just start searching for those that are 50% or 25%, and you save yourself a ton of work. So again, it's important to consider how much you're seeking to raise. And if you're seeking for a fully funded scholarship, but a country like Korea, that I'll probably give the example more, you get maybe like a 50% scholarship from the university. There are charity organizations or NGOs or companies that are willing to that are willing to support students that are not fully funded to study in Korea, as well as be able to tap the opportunities in the country. And if that's the case, you don't have to only focus. Once you do this research and you understand this criteria, you don't have to focus only on fully funded. You can at least get 50% and start looking for other means that you can use to support yourself financially while you're studying in that country. And I think it's not only Korea. I think virtually all these advanced countries, there are always NGOs and organizations there really trying to provide scholarships to support those that are not fully funded. And the last point that I'll make, which I already made a bit earlier, is your plan post-graduation. And folks, I cannot overemphasize this. Living outside Nigeria for almost a decade, one thing that I realized is that sorry. Oh, okay. And one thing that I realized is that a lot of students come abroad not thinking about what am I going to do after my graduation. And what that really does, it puts you at a disadvantage, because if you're, you need to start thinking about the classes you're going to take. The scholarship is just one means to the end. It's not the end goal. And if you're not thinking about your plan post-graduation, for example, if you want to go into the tech industry, then I'll probably say you want to go to a country like China, like Korea, like Japan. If you want to go into more of like social science, probably Europe is a better idea. So having a clear understanding, not specific, but at least a broad understanding of what you want to do post-graduate, that is going to help you shape what kind of scholarship you should be applying for and when you should apply for it. So I'm just going to, those will be the 3 points that I will really emphasize on before on this particular point. And again, during the Q&A session, feel free to ask questions so I can delve deeper on, both from a personal standpoint and to hopefully give some tips in this regard. So I cannot say all these things without talking about the classifications of scholarships. And what I would do here is, I will run through these really quick because I think my time is going real quick. And I just want to focus mainly on 4 types of scholarships. The first one is government scholarships. And far too many times, I think this kind of scholarships are fully funded. Again, Korea, Japan, the US, the UK, pretty much most advanced countries have one form of fully funded scholarship or another. But the benefit of this is, again, like I said, it's full ride. It's mostly fully funded, but the disadvantage is it's highly competitive. So the reason why I think it's important to know this point is, if you have, I've heard stories of people that have a 2-2 and they got a fully funded scholarship. I think that's a beautiful story, but it's also good to be strategic, because if you have a 2-2 and, you're competing with people that have pretty much first class, you could with like 100 people that have first class, while you might be successful depending on how you construct or present yourself, the chances, at least to some extent, can be lower. So again, depending on if you understand the pros and cons to this, that would help you shape which kind of scholarship should you be focusing on. For example, if you have a 2-2, maybe you want to get a 50% scholarship, then look for other forms of scholarship that you could use to cover those expenses. And the second one I would focus on is university, but I think this is probably the most common. And whether it's the UK or the US, or these days, a lot of Asian universities, they all have different forms of fully funded scholarships, as well as, partly funded scholarship that you can apply for. And the pro to this is, most times it's less complex. You don't have to submit a different application. It's usually part of the application process. But the disadvantage is, most times it's not fully funded. But again, these days, I think because of SDGs that we are promoting on the global stage, there is just a vast amount of fully funded scholarships in universities for those of us like us coming from developing countries. So if there's any time to apply for scholarships, now is the time, because the opposite is there's just a vast we have vast opportunities for those of us coming from developing countries. And the next point the next classification is international organizations. And again, this goes to the point of having vast opportunities, whether it's the World Bank, it's the OPEC, African Development Bank. Most of these organizations actually have scholarships that you can actually start looking into and that you can potentially apply for. And again, the advantage is most times it's fully funded. But again, once it's fully funded, it comes with the competition that you have to, the competition. And one way that I would just give one tip here real quick, that you can position yourself is, let's say you've been working in a particular sector that aligns with any of these organizations, that puts you at a huge advantage. in a way of telling your story, because they want to pick someone that aligns with their mission, the vision of the organization. And if you're doing something along this line, then you're at a big advantage they can tap and use to your benefit in the application process. Now, the last one I will make, which is charity organizations, and I will just run through this real quick. In the case of Korea, there is a foundation called Taewon Foundation that where they give international students that don't have a fully funded scholarship. I think they get about $500 every single month for living expenses. There's also the Rotary Foundation, and they have Rotary Peace Fellowship that it's fully funded. There's also the MasterCard. So there's also the Gates Foundation. But what often happens is some of these organizations they work in collaboration with universities to provide these scholarships. So again, doing your research will help you understand all that. Let me go to the next part, which is I cannot finish this presentation without giving you, like I said earlier, some of the current opportunities I can start working on right now. And I'm just going to highlight 5. I could go on and on this, but because of our time, I'm just going to highlight 5 that you can start working on right now. The first one is Global Korea Scholarship 2022 for graduate students. And that one literally opened last week. And I believe the application is going to run up to the end of March. So if there's a scholarship you want to start working on right now, like where do I start? This is one place you can start if you want to apply for master's degree. And the cool thing this year is I was very surprised last week when there was also a new one that was open for undergraduate students. So before, historically, the Global Career Scholarship for undergrad students opens around September, October of the year, while the master's degree opens around this time of the year. But for some wonderful reasons, they opened for undergraduate. They opened an additional call for undergraduate students, and I believe the application is going to open next week. And you can go to www.studyinkorea.go.kr for you to access this opportunity. Again, www.studyinkorea.go.kr for you to get the details and the guidelines of these scholarships. They are out right now. You can start working on them. The third one I want to emphasize is Rotary Peace Fellowship. I believe the application opened last week as well, and the deadline is going to, I believe it's May 15th of this year. So again, you can start working on this scholarship. And the fourth one I want to talk about is Singapore International Graduate Award. That one also opened, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And the application closes on in June. Sorry, I just wanted to confirm. Have you been able to see my screen so far before now? Can I just?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Because I just got it. Okay, awesome. Then the last point that I wanted to make, the last point I wanted to highlight is KDI. And I'm very happy because one of the mentees that I worked with just got this scholarship recently. And this one is going to open around April. And it's a fully funded scholarship, and all the scholarships I've talked about for these current opportunities are all fully funded that you can start working on immediately. Then the next point I would just say is, again, you can also go to these particular websites that I have here for you to start to look at opportunities that you can start applying for. Opportunities for Africans. Again, this is a very useful website. If you're looking for, where do I start researching for scholarships? I encourage you to go here. The second one is Scholars Hub Africa. And the last one is, I think this is a Yoruba word, opportunities. But the point is all these websites really, they update scholarships that are coming up that you can start looking into and you can start applying for. Then in terms of university scholarships, you can go to this website for the KAIS, and if there are any high school, secondary school students here that wants to go to Korea to study for your undergraduate, there's also there's a university called KAIS. I think it's about the 8th best university, I think number 8 in Asia. And they have these fully funded scholarship for undergraduate students to come to Korea and study. So the link is here. And I believe that after the summit, you would be sent this slide for you to access. Then there's also the Knight Hennessy, which I think is probably the most popular one these days at Stanford University. And the last one I wanted to highlight here is the Gates Cambridge Scholarship. Again, the link is here, and I believe the application for that is going to open sometime in September of this year. So you can start preparing your documents, go to the website, start looking into the details and how you can best position yourself for your application. So I think that's pretty much what I have for you today. And for charity, again, these are some of the links that you can access later. For you to start looking into these scholarships. So I hope I'm within the time frame. That's
Yes.
the and thanks a lot, everybody, and I wish you all the very best as you work on these scholarships. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Aanuoluwapo, for managing time and of course for delivering so brilliantly well as usual. Thank you once again. All right.